Well, I'd like to leave it, but if anyone's got any questions or comments, I'm willing to take them.
Excuse me, the question I'm asking, how was your position? Because in those days, you couldn't log these things properly.
Yep.
Nobody, because all those interested is the slave masters. Strongest survive.
That's right.
In gold.
Yeah.
So they get 20 or 5 million.
Yeah.
At least maybe 250,000 were weaklings.
Yeah.
And just get rid of them.
One of the things, if you look at slave ship records, what they did quite early on was to set up insurance. And actually, they recorded the slaves because they could get insurance on those that died. So, although the records are not complete, although some slave ship owners were rogues who wouldn't have kept records, would have doctored records. In fact, it's one of the best recorded trades there is because of the setting up of insurance, because of that. So you're right, we don't know, and that's why I was using all these things to illustrate that the things that we don't know. You know, that's why I did 2 million at least. But we have got extremely good records. If you look at the CD-ROM, and it has recordings of deaths by down to the specific illness, because they had to record the illness because some illnesses were not insurable.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is,
yeah,
these records won't have different names, because they did in this modern time now. The generation going back, roots of the say. They'll have some, what they call, how could I put it? They'll have some say. Because the majority, with due respect to you, I'm getting that color now, I'm saying, going off history or reading the books that have been written, because I don't know nothing about it, I'm just reading. Half of these millionaires and lord, this and lady, that, they were, or they gained these status from being slave masters.
That's right.
2 generations.
That's right.
So it was to go back in this modern day now. A lot of people were rich because they were
exactly
collecting now, you see.
Exactly, and it goes right up to the royalty. When the Royal African Company was the first chartered company which dealt in slaves. Listen to that royal bit. They branded the slaves with DY. That stood for Duke of York. You know, so the royal family's wealth, in part, is built up on the African trade. So are a lot of the aristocratic families. So
Elizabeth I and all these great sailors we talk about, they were slave traders.
Yeah,
Every one of them was slave traders.
John Hawkins was a slave trader.
He started it off with Elizabeth, the backing up Queen Elizabeth I.
Yeah.
But we also have Sir Walter Raleigh, that is a great sailor, and all these, they all were slave traders. But my point is, nobody has ever made out that because of the slave trade, Britain and America became the most powerful and richest countries in the world.
Well, I don't think no one's done that. We've been doing it for 20 years.
Nobody pointed out. They just say, oh, the slave and Britain abolished slave trade by our benevolence. But what I said, it made Britain the richest country. Even today, she's the richest country. America can boast, I'm the most powerful country. Of the blood of African slaves. They destroy Africa. The trouble that Africa is having today is because they took the best out of Africa. But I asked a fellow that he was showing us, I was walking around the British Museum in London, and he was showing us the African heart. And when he finished, any question, and I said to him, would you mind telling me, if the people were so backward and stupid, how can they produce such heart? He said, I'm not here for politics. You said, any question? You see, this, and what really gets me, everybody's saying, well, it happened 200 years ago, and it doesn't matter. It does, because it's affecting them.
Yeah, that's true.
It's affecting them when they go for a job.
I think that you're wrong to say that no one has been saying this. I think people have been saying it, historians have been saying it. I wrote a book 3 years ago which I said it. Other people have been saying it. It's just that the government and lots of people don't want to listen. They want to tell the glorious story of abolition rather than the story of slavery proceeding.
They listen. But if they admit...
Well, I think that's why some of there were some artists last year when the money that came out for the abolition of slavery was sort of given out to the different museums and different organisations, actually protest quite a lot because they felt that the monies were actually going to the wrong places. I personally don't believe that wholly. I believe that it's important because you have the artefacts. You have the artefacts in the buildings, in the Great Museum, the Royal whatever, or the Imperial War Museum, or whatever those museums are. You have documented evidence in your vaults. What I am afraid of is that a lot of museums haven't brought out the real artefacts. They've brought out the artefacts that won't offend, that won't cause controversy, that make it almost collaborating again with the denial that it actually happened. And the one thing that I love about the Maritime Museum is that they have not done that. And they have said this was the stark reality, and this is what is the residue of what has happened in slavery. I hope that the exhibition, when we look at it, actually enables us to see the stark reality. And
maybe part of that is that over the years, those in power who brought these artefacts to the museums didn't bring those things they might be embarrassed about. The manacles.
We have some of those.
As well as, I was just finished because I was saying that some of the artists protested last year, and they protested strongly too. I know that a group called Speakeasy sent in a letter of protest to the City Council because they felt that there should be some representation in this city that says that, you know, that black people have been, so you mentioned the memorial, and Lancaster being the only place that has a memorial to the victims of slavery, and their protest was that we have to have something in this city that says that this is how this city has grown and continues to grow, because it's that wealth. Thank you, Peter. Because it's that wealth that you actually see now in the investments from those property magnates whose parents traded in the and their great-great-grandparents who traded in the slave trade. My great-grandmother missed slavery by 7 years. 7 years. And so it's very real to my family because my grandmother died in 1962 at 83 years of age. And so therefore, if you do the math, you will find that it was about 7 or 8 years that her mother missed slavery by, and the residues of that, and that's still within families.